JonBenét Ramsey was a 6-year-old girl from Boulder, Colorado. She lived in a picturesque neighborhood surrounded by the beauty of the Rocky Mountains. She was known for her participation in and wins at child beauty pageants. JonBenét's radiant smile and poise on stage made her a standout contestant, earning her numerous titles and trophies. JonBenét was charismatic and often described as a bright light by those who knew her. Her friends and family remember her as a joyful child who loved to play and make others laugh. Her life, however, was tragically cut short. The vibrant energy she brought to her community was extinguished in a way that left everyone in shock and disbelief. On December 26, 1996, America woke up to news of the unthinkable, the murder of a young beauty queen. The headlines blared with the tragic news, and the nation was gripped by the horror of the event. JonBenét's body was found in the basement of her family home, 8 hours after she was reported missing by her parents. The discovery was made by her father, John Ramsey, in a heart-wrenching moment that would forever change their lives. The news of her death sent shockwaves across the nation, capturing the attention of millions. People from all walks of life were drawn into the unfolding drama, seeking answers and justice for the innocent child. The circumstances surrounding JonBenét's death were strange to say the least. The case was filled with bizarre details and inconsistencies that puzzled investigators and the public alike. The initial 911 call made by her mother, Patsy Ramsey, reported her daughter missing and a ransom note demanding $118,000. The note was unusually long and detailed, raising suspicions about its authenticity. This figure was eerily close to the amount of John Ramsey's, JonBenét's father, recent bonus. The coincidence added another layer of mystery to the already perplexing case. The case quickly gained notoriety, becoming one of the most infamous unsolved murders in American history. The media frenzy that followed kept the story in the public eye, with every new development scrutinized and debated. The mystery surrounding JonBenét's death continues to captivate and baffle the public to this day. Countless documentaries, books, and articles have been produced, each offering different theories and perspectives on what might have happened, with countless theories, suspects, and unanswered questions lingering in the air. Despite the passage of time, the case remains open, and the quest for justice for JonBenét Ramsey endures. The hope is that one day, the truth will emerge, and the bright light that was JonBenét will finally rest in peace. The day after Christmas in 1996 began like any other for the Ramsey family, or so it seemed. The festive spirit still lingered in the air, with decorations adorning the house and the remnants of holiday cheer scattered around. But beneath the surface, an unimaginable nightmare was about to unfold. Patsy Ramsey called 911 a little before 6 a.m. to report JonBenét missing. Her voice was frantic, filled with a mother's desperation and fear. The dispatcher tried to calm her down, but the urgency in Patsy's voice was unmistakable. She told the dispatcher she'd found a ransom note demanding $118,000 for her daughter's safe return. The amount was oddly specific, matching the bonus John Ramsey had recently received. This peculiar detail added another layer of mystery to the already perplexing situation. The note itself was unusually long and written on a notepad from inside the house. It spanned several pages, filled with threats and demands, and seemed to be written in a hurried yet deliberate manner. The handwriting was inconsistent, raising questions about its authenticity. This detail, along with other inconsistencies, immediately raised red flags for investigators. The fact that the note was written on a notepad from within the house suggested that the perpetrator had spent a considerable amount of time inside, which was unusual for a kidnapping scenario. The scene at the Ramsey home, however, was not immediately treated as a crime scene. The initial response was chaotic, with officers and family members moving freely throughout the house. This lack of control over the scene would later be heavily criticized and seen as a major flaw in the investigation. Friends and family were allowed to come and go, potentially contaminating valuable evidence. The house was filled with people all trying to offer support, but unknowingly making the job of the investigators much more difficult. Later that morning, John Ramsey discovered JonBenét's body in a seldom-used room in the basement. The discovery was both shocking and heartbreaking. John carried her lifeless body upstairs, a sight that would haunt him and the investigators forever. She had been struck on the head and strangled. The brutality of the attack was evident, and it was clear that JonBenét had suffered immensely. The forensic team began their meticulous work, trying to piece together the events that led to this tragic end. A length of cord was found tied around her neck, and her mouth had been covered with duct tape. These details painted a grim picture of the final moments of JonBenét's life, adding to the horror of the crime. The discovery of her body shifted the investigation from a missing child case to a homicide investigation. The focus now was on finding the person responsible for this heinous act. The pressure on the investigators was immense, as the eyes of the nation were now on them. The brutality of the crime, coupled with the victim's young age and beauty pageant background, captivated the nation's attention. JonBenét was not just any child, she was a beauty queen, a little girl who had charmed many with her poise and grace on stage. Her tragic end seemed all the more poignant because of her public persona. The media descended upon Boulder, broadcasting every detail of the case and further fueling the public's fascination with the tragedy. News vans lined the streets, reporters camped outside the Ramsey home, and every new piece of information was dissected and analyzed. The case became a media sensation, with theories and speculations running rampant. Immediately, the Boulder Police Department began an extensive investigation into JonBenét's death. The Ramseys, as the last people to have seen JonBenét alive, were naturally persons of interest. The discovery of the ransom note, with its eerie connection to John's bonus, further fueled suspicion towards the family. The investigation, however, was not without its missteps. The crime scene was not properly secured, allowing for potential contamination of evidence. The lack of a cohesive strategy between the police and the district attorney's office led to confusion and, potentially, missed opportunities. Despite these challenges, investigators meticulously collected evidence from the crime scene. Fingerprints and DNA were recovered, but none provided a conclusive link to a perpetrator outside the Ramsey family. The ransom note, analyzed by handwriting experts, did not definitively rule out Patsy Ramsey as the writer. As the investigation progressed, the public and media scrutiny intensified. The lack of a clear suspect, coupled with the sensational nature of the case, led to rampant speculation and a constant barrage of theories. The Ramsey case became a tragic example of how media frenzy can complicate and potentially hinder a complex investigation. The investigation into JonBenét's murder was marked by a series of unanswered questions and lingering suspicions. From the very beginning, the case was shrouded in mystery and confusion, leaving both the public and law enforcement officials grasping for clarity. The ransom note, for example, remained a focal point of the investigation. This note, which was unusually long and detailed, was found inside the Ramsey home, and its contents baffled investigators. Its length and tone, along with the seemingly staged nature of its discovery, raised more questions than answers. The note demanded a ransom of $118,000, a peculiar amount that matched John Ramsey's recent bonus, adding another layer of intrigue. Furthermore, the lack of forced entry into the home puzzled investigators. The house was equipped with a sophisticated security system, and all windows and doors appeared to be locked and intact. The theory of an intruder committing the crime seemed less plausible given the seemingly secure nature of the house. Yet the possibility of someone entering the home undetected could not be entirely dismissed. However, investigators couldn't completely rule out the possibility of someone entering the home undetected. Theories ranged from a skilled intruder who bypassed the security system to someone who had inside knowledge of the house's layout and routines. The behavior of the Ramsey family in the aftermath of JonBenét's disappearance also drew scrutiny. Their actions, from the moment they reported her missing to their public appearances, were closely analyzed and often criticized. Their decision to hire a team of lawyers and publicists before a suspect was identified struck some as unusual and indicative of guilt. Critics argued that their focus seemed to be on managing their public image rather than aiding the investigation. Their media appearances, while intended to plead their innocence, were often perceived as staged and insincere. The family's demeanor during interviews, sometimes appearing composed and other times overly emotional, fueled public skepticism. The combination of these factors, along with the constant media attention, created an atmosphere of suspicion and distrust. The media frenzy surrounding the case was relentless, with every new piece of information or speculation making headlines. Despite the efforts of law enforcement, the investigation seemed to hit one dead end after another, leaving the public to grapple with the possibility that JonBenét's killer may never be brought to justice. The case remains one of the most perplexing and heartbreaking mysteries in modern criminal history, with many still hoping for answers and closure.